The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as the Imperial envoy finished his declaration of war. His chitinous mandibles clicked with satisfaction at the palpable fear emanating from the various alien representatives. Only the human ambassador seemed unperturbed, tapping her stylus against a datapad with mild annoyance. "Let me get this straight," she said, her voice carrying through the vast chamber. "You're giving us 24 hours to surrender before you send your elite warriors to conquer Earth?" The envoy's compound eyes gleamed. "The Vesperian Empire has conquered 17 systems in the last solar cycle. Your primitive species will be an effortless addition to our glory." The human ambassador glanced at her datapad and shrugged. "We'll send someone to meet your warriors." Jack Miller had been having a spectacularly bad day even before the military shuttle landed at his remote outpost on Mars. The atmospheric regulator had broken down for the third time that month, and the replacement parts he'd ordered were the wrong specifications. Again. "I don't have time for this," he muttered, tightening his grip on his trusty wrench as the shuttle doors hissed open. The wrench was an old-fashioned tool, heavy and analog in a digital age, but it had been his father's and his grandfather's before that. A stern-faced officer stepped up. "Mr. Miller, Earth Defense Command needs you to come with us immediately." Jack didn't look up from the tangle of pipes he was working on. "Unless you brought me a proper 357X coupling valve, I'm not going anywhere. The Vesperian Empire has declared war. Their warriors will arrive in our system in 18 hours. Sounds like a military problem. I fix machines, not intergalactic disputes." The officer cleared her throat. "Command specifically requested you." Jack finally looked up, his face smeared with hydraulic fluid, eyes narrowed with suspicion. "Why me?" "Because you're the best mechanic in the system, and you're the angriest man I've ever met." 6 hours later, Jack stood in Earth's orbital defense station, glaring at the assembled generals and scientists. "Let me make sure I understand," he said, twirling his wrench absently. "You want me to board their flagship, alone, because their entire empire runs on machinery that's compatible with human engineering principles?" Admiral Torres nodded. "Their technology is advanced but fundamentally similar to ours. They conquered through biological superiority, not technological. Their warriors are formidable, but their systems are vulnerable. And nobody thought to mention this during the 3 years I've been freezing my ass off on Mars." The Admiral had the decency to look embarrassed. It was classified. Jack sighed, looking out the viewport at the distant stars. "What's in it for me? If you succeed, unlimited resources for your Mars outpost. If you fail, well, we all die anyway." Jack tucked his wrench into his belt. "When do I leave?" The Vesperian flagship was a marvel of engineering. Jack would have appreciated it more if you weren't currently hiding in a maintenance shaft while 8-foot insectoid warriors stalked the corridors searching for him. "Primitive human," their commander hissed over the ship's comm system. "Your species sent one insignificant creature against our greatest warriors. This insult will be repaid 1,000-fold when we reach your homeworld." Jack rolled his eyes as he examined the engineering schematic he downloaded during his covert boarding. The Vesperians had built an impressive vessel, but like most engineers, they designed with efficiency in mind, not security. Every system had a vulnerability, every machine had a weak point, and Jack had spent his entire life finding and fixing those weak points. Or, in this case, exploiting them. The first warrior fell when Jack rerouted cooling fluid from the barracks, flooding the chamber with vapor that locked the Vesperians' exoskeletons in place. The second squad was dispatched when he reprogrammed the automated defensive turrets in Section 7. By the time he reached the central engineering deck, the Vesperian commander had dispatched his personal guard to hunt down the human intruder. Jack whistled tunelessly as he pried open an access panel beneath the main power distribution node. A dozen elite warriors were converging on his position, but he had 10 minutes before they arrived. Plenty of time for a man who could disassemble and reassemble a regulator unit in under 5. "Let's see how your empire functions with a little mechanical indigestion," he muttered. The Vesperian commander was in a state of panic. Half his systems were malfunctioning, internal defenses were targeting his own warriors, and environmental controls throughout the ship were cycling randomly between freezing and sweltering. "Find the human," he screeched. "Find him now." The doors to the bridge hissed open. The commander whirled, mandibles extended in threat display, only to find himself facing a single human, clothes stained with grease and hydraulic fluid, holding nothing but a primitive metal tool. "Hey," Jack said, casually twirling his wrench, "your ship has some serious design flaws." The commander chittered in rage. "Kill him." The warriors leaped forward and froze in midair as gravity plating reversed, pinning them to the ceiling. Jack strolled forward, untouched. "Here's the deal. I've rigged your engines to overload in about 5 minutes. You can try to stop it, but I've also locked out your controls, or you can get in your escape pods and live to fight another day." "You bluff," the commander hissed. "No single human could defeat the Empire's flagship." Jack shrugged. "I'm not a warrior. I'm a mechanic. And machines." He tapped his wrench against the nearest console, triggering alarms throughout the ship. "Speak my language." The Galactic Council watched in stunned silence as the Vesperian flagship erupted in a controlled series of explosions before the main hull ejected dozens of escape pods. No casualties, but utterly defeated force. The Vesperian envoy's compound eyes darted frantically between the view screen and the human ambassador, who was calmly filing her nails. "How?" he demanded. "How did you defeat our greatest warriors?" The ambassador smiled. "We didn't send a warrior to fight warriors. We sent a mechanic to fix a problem." As the Vesperian Empire signed the peace treaty 3 days later, Jack was already back on Mars, finally installing the correct coupling valve in his atmospheric regulator. The wrench felt good in his hand. Some problems required force, others precision, but all machines eventually yielded to the right tool and the right touch. And humans, Jack reflected with satisfaction, had always been very good with tools.